Samantha Reed was 19 years old when her life was taken in a way that shattered not only her family but an entire community that had watched her grow up, because Samantha was the kind of person whose presence softened rooms, someone who listened carefully, spoke gently, and carried an emotional intelligence far beyond her age. Born in early January of 1995 in a small town outside Savannah, Georgia, to parents who lived modestly but loved fiercely, raising their only daughter with values rooted in honesty, compassion, and responsibility, and from childhood Samantha showed an unusual sensitivity to others, noticing sadness where others overlooked it, stepping in to help without being asked, and as she grew older this quality defined her identity. She volunteered at animal shelters, organized donation drives after natural disasters, and spent weekends mentoring younger students, all while excelling academically and nurturing a deep passion for music and writing, and teachers often remarked that Samantha possessed a calm maturity rarely seen in someone so young, and it was during her junior year of high school that she met Daniel Foster, a quiet, athletic student who had recently transferred from another district, someone who initially seemed shy and misunderstood rather than threatening, and at first Daniel appeared attentive and deeply interested in Samantha's thoughts and dreams, praising her kindness and expressing admiration for her ambition. And for Samantha, who had never experienced romantic attention of that intensity before, the relationship felt meaningful and affirming, and so she allowed herself to fall in love, believing she had found someone who truly saw her. And for a time everything seemed stable, but slowly, almost imperceptibly, Daniel's behavior began to change. His concern turned into monitoring, his affection into expectation, and his compliments into subtle criticisms, questioning why Samantha needed so many friends, why she spent time helping others instead of prioritizing him. And while he framed his jealousy as love, Samantha began to feel emotionally boxed in, sensing that her independence was being quietly eroded. Yet she stayed longer than she should have, convincing herself that patience and reassurance would eventually ease his insecurities, because leaving someone who was clearly struggling emotionally felt cruel to her. And when senior year arrived and college acceptance letters came in, Samantha's excitement was mixed with dread, because she had been accepted into a university several hours away, while Daniel's plans were uncertain. And as the reality of separation grew closer, Daniel's behavior became increasingly erratic, withdrawing from friends, drinking heavily, expressing hopelessness, and placing the weight of his emotional stability entirely on Samantha's shoulders. And after months of inner conflict, she made the painful decision to end the relationship shortly after graduation, believing it was the only way both of them could move forward. And while Samantha felt relief tinged with guilt, Daniel experienced the breakup as abandonment, spiraling rapidly into isolation and resentment. And despite repeated warnings from friends and family, Samantha struggled to cut contact completely, fearing that ignoring him might push him towards self-harm. Because she believed responsibility did not end simply because love did. And in late July of 2014, just weeks before she was scheduled to leave for college, Daniel reached out, pleading for one final conversation, insisting he needed closure to move on. And against her better judgment, Samantha agreed to meet briefly, believing her compassion could prevent further harm. And on the evening of July 27 she finished her shift at a local cafe where security cameras later captured her clocking out at 7:18 p.m., adjusting her bag and sending a quick text to a friend saying she would meet up later, unaware that it would be the last message she ever sent. Because when Samantha failed to arrive home and stopped responding entirely, concern escalated into panic, and her parents contacted police within hours, launching a search that intensified when her car was discovered abandoned near a remote river access point, keys missing, purse still inside, and the location immediately raised alarms because it was an area known for its isolation after dark. And throughout the night volunteers searched nearby woods and riverbanks, clinging desperately to hope that she was injured or lost. But that hope was destroyed the following morning when a fisherman discovered her body partially submerged along a muddy embankment several miles downstream, and the scene revealed clear signs of violence, deep wounds, defensive injuries, and evidence of a prolonged struggle, confirming investigators' fears that this was a homicide committed by someone Samantha knew and trusted. And attention quickly turned to Daniel Foster, the last person she had agreed to see, whose initial account shifted repeatedly under questioning, claiming she had left angrily, then stating he hadn't seen her at all, inconsistencies that immediately raised suspicion. And a search of his home uncovered blood traces in the garage, cleaning supplies hastily discarded, muddy boots matching soil samples from the riverbank, and phone records revealing dozens of unanswered calls made to Samantha in the hours before her disappearance. And during trial, Daniel's defense painted a picture of a young man suffering from severe depression, substance abuse, and emotional instability, arguing that he lacked the capacity to fully understand his actions. But prosecutors dismantled that narrative piece by piece, presenting evidence of calculated behavior before and after the murder, including attempts to mislead investigators, conceal evidence, and create false timelines, actions that required awareness, planning, and intent, and after weeks of emotionally charged testimony, the jury returned a guilty verdict for first-degree murder, sentencing Daniel Foster to life in prison, a decision that delivered justice but could never undo the damage, because Samantha Reed was gone forever, her kindness transformed into vulnerability, her empathy exploited by someone who confused possession with love, and in the aftermath her parents dedicated their lives to advocacy, traveling to schools and communities to educate young people about the warning signs of emotional manipulation, obsessive jealousy, and coercive control, determined that Samantha's story would serve as a lasting reminder that love should never feel like fear, obligation, or sacrifice of safety, and that sometimes the most dangerous threats are not strangers hiding in the dark, but familiar faces who refuse to let go.